What is going on, beautiful people? My name is Betsam, and this weekend we go back to the Apex with a couple of featherweight bangers and Josh Emmett taking on the Ron Murphy. We're going to do a full card prediction, breakdown, and more. There will be chapters on this video, so you can go and click to whichever fight you want to go to. And if you want to sign up and become a premium member, see my bets and more, check out WeWantPicks/Betsam, code Betsam. The link for that is in the description of this video. Let's get into it, boys. Starting off with the first fight of the night, we have Vanessa Demopoulos taking on Talita Alencar. And listen, guys, Vanessa Demopoulos, most famous for jumping into the arms of Joe Rogan, into the arms of Michael Bisping, and the rest of it. But the reality is she is an all-action fighter who is pretty good across the board, but not exceptional anywhere. She can beat a lower-rung UFC fighter, but is not good enough to compete with the likes of, Jacqueline Amorim, who she fought in her last outing. Even though there was a bit of a protest about a glove hooking or something, she did manage to get submitted and early in that fight as well, showing that she just isn't at the level of that competition. And that's okay, because she's taken on Talita Alencar, and number one thing that stands out when you look at Talita Alencar is she's undersized. Even at women's strawweight, the smallest division that the UFC has, Talita Alencar is blatantly too small. And so we have Talita Alencar, who is there at 5'1". She's coming off a loss to Stephanie Luciano, where she honestly just couldn't get anything going. And the thing about Talita is, if she cannot get her grappling going, it's over for her, because her striking is not very good. Her arms are short, they're tiny. She doesn't exactly hold power. So for Talita Alencar, this is a grapple or dud spot. But the thing about Vanessa Demopoulos in this matchup here is that we have seen her, play off her back, try and catch an armbar, all the rest of it. So if she does that shit, she's going to lose. But I think that she might be hip to it and understand that it's about optics here, Try and get back to her feet. Understand that Talita Alencar isn't the biggest submission threat. So I favored Vanessa Demopoulos here. Against Emily Ducote, I thought Ducote won. Vanessa Demopoulos obviously has a way of swaying the judges. And I think inside of the Apex as well, her corner might be going, hey, ooh, every time she does anything, which while it shouldn't, it may sway the judges in a rather sedentary fight. So I'm going to lean towards Vanessa Demopoulos. I'll give this out as a sneaky pick. I haven't seen what the odds are going to look like for it. If there is a takedown prop, though, on Talita Alencar, 2+ takedowns, and it's at decent money, that's something I could be looking to play. Let's jump into the next bout. We have Victor Henry taking on Pedro Falcao. And in this fight, guys, I know it says Victor Henry is 37 years old. He's actually about to turn 38. I think it's tomorrow. I think he turns 38 tomorrow. So 38-year-old Victor Henry coming off a loss to Charles Jourdain by submission. Victor Henry is one of those guys where he really does have a lot. He does have a lot of energy, and he comes forward with his energy, and he tries to impose his cardio on other people. And that becomes concerning when you become an older fighter, because you start to ask yourself, is the conditioning going to be there? Is the body going to be able to hold up to all the training to be able to maintain that conditioning? And that's something that I worry about here in this spot. Almost 38 years old in the bantamweight division. He's going to be an absolute relic in there. Pedro Falcao, while he didn't look amazing in his debut against Victor Hugo, he did show that if he can get some control, then he can rack up some time there. He can rack up some minutes. So I'm going to be taking Pedro Falcao as an underdog here, and a lot of people are playing him by submission or inside the distance. I actually think he gets it done on the scorecards. If you go through Pedro Falcao's record before the UFC, you see he fights a lot of older, experienced veterans of the fight game, and he wins by decision against them. It's the younger guys that he's being able to finish and get submissions over. So I'm going to take Pedro Falcao here. I think he wins as a decision. I think this fight is going to be razor close. Then we have Loma Lookboonmee taking on Istela Nunes. This fight to me comes down to more about what's happening on paper than the actuality of what these two girls bring inside the fight. Loma Lookboonmee obviously is an active Muay Thai striker who has developed takedowns inside of her game, now averaging, a couple of takedowns per fight. Istela Nunes, on the other hand, how do I categorize her? She's a striker who comes out heavy in the first round, and that's about it. She fades, she gets finished in her losses. She's coming off of, I think it's 4 straight losses, almost a 2-year layoff. I think this is going to be a highlight spot here for Loma Lookboonmee, and I'm not giving you anything new, guys. She's a -700 favorite. By the time it closes, she might be -900, -1,000 even, because Istela Nunes has really not shown that she can win at a UFC level. And so for me, it's about, will Loma Lookboonmee finish the fight or not? And honestly, I do believe Probably yes, because when fighters come in here, they're not committed to the game, and then they get given an opportunity to leave. Let's say she eats a big strike, falls over. Maybe I'll just shell up, maybe I'll just go home. And so I'm going to take Loma Lookboonmee here. I think she does win this fight by finish, but, women's flyweight division, I don't know if you can bank on that. The reality is, though, is that Istela Nunes, there's almost nothing going for her here. Other than a slight round one upside that she'll carry a bit of power, I really don't see any opportunity for things to go her way. Give me Loma Lookboonmee, high confidence on that pick. Then we've got Rhys McKee taking on Daniel Frunza. If you guys don't know, Rhys McKee is my underdog opportunity. You can go pause this video, check that one out. Great video, honestly. Some awesome editing has gone under that one. Daniel Frunza, coming off the Dana White's Contender Series here, looking to notch his first UFC win. He's taking on Rhys McKee, and Rhys McKee is 0-4 in the UFC. He has not won a single fight. He has been in the UFC. This is his second run, and he has come up short 4 times. And the only person that's finished him there has been Khamzat Chimaev, which it's Khamzat Chimaev. What are you going to do? The reality is that Rhys McKee is in a must-win spot here, and for him, I think that it is essential that he goes out here and defeats Daniel Frunza. I don't know if he ever gets signed for a third time. Even if he goes out there and smashes 10-plus Cage Warriors guys, I think it's do or die for him now. And I really expect him to come in here the most motivated he has ever been in his entire life. I expect him to leave no stone unturned, and I just see him getting his hand raised, man. I really wasn't too impressed with what I've seen from Daniel Frunza on the regional scene. I know that some people were talking about him fighting similar frame guys. I watched the fights that you guys were talking about. It really didn't look like a Rhys McKee style fighter that the people were talking about. What was it? Jalen Fuller or something? People were saying the guy's name was. I watched it on UFC Fight Pass. It's eligible there. Look up Daniel Frunza. You can see a bunch of his fights over there. He gets the knockouts up against guys on the cage here. Number one thing that stands out for me, Rhys McKee is durable. The number two thing is I think he's going to have the grappling advantage, whether it comes to takedowns or, and I say takedowns or because he has failed to get most of the takedowns in the UFC, takedowns or cage control. I could see Rhys McKee holding Daniel Frunza against the cage, wearing him out, landing some knees, maybe getting a takedown or two, and if he gets him down, what is the grappling of Daniel Frunza like? Because his only 2 losses are submission losses by rear naked choke, the both of them. So interesting potential path to victory there for Rhys McKee, the longer guy with the longer arms. Maybe you could snatch up a choke, cause an upset here. I'm taking Rhys McKee, low confidence, but I think it's the right side to go with. Then we got Diana Belbita taking on Dione Barbosa. Listen, guys, I'm just gonna point out the absolute obvious right here. Diana Belbita, beautiful lady. That's about all she's got going for her. This lady has lost 2 times to Molly McCann. I don't even need to talk about Dione Barbosa. If you're in the UFC and you're fighting Diana Belbita and you know that she's lost twice to Molly McCann, you're going to have some confidence it's probably going to be one of your easier matchups that you're going to get in your UFC tenure. Diana Barbosa isn't exactly a world beater, 1-1 inside the UFC, loses a fight to Miranda Maverick in her last outing. This is a monster step down in competition, like absolutely monster. I think Diana Barbosa is going to be able to get some takedowns using her judo, and she's going to be able to control this fight with her jiu-jitsu. Probably finds a submission sometime in round 2 after Diana Belbita's initial energy goes away here. I'm surprised Diana Belbita is still on the roster. Very surprising. She really isn't good enough to hang here, and I think this fight's going to be obvious. Diana Barbosa, minus 1,000. It makes all the sense in the world. Let's move forward. Then we have Dangerous Davey Grant taking on Daniel Santos. Daniel Santos, you guys don't even need to look it up. Just see the haircut. You know where this guy trains, Charles Oliveira and the boys, they all get the same energy down there, same haircuts, all the rest of it. And they fight very similar. This guy's going to come out here, burn like a hot flame, and he's going to fade. The reality is Daniel Santos here being a favorite, it makes sense to me because Davey Grant is 39 years old. Even though he's looked good, he's going to turn up one day and he's just going to shit the bed because nobody lasts forever and nobody defies Father Time. Even though Davey Grant keeps turning up, keeps looking good, one of these days he's going to turn up there and it's just going to be so obvious that their Father Time has got to him. It's not going to be his opponent. It's going to be, the wear and tear of a lifelong career. Is it going to be in this fight? I don't know. I favor Daniel Santos to win this fight inside the distance early. If it goes long, Davey Grant could be live on the scorecards, could make it dirty, could make it ugly. Some people have gone with the narrative here that Davey Grant is going to catch Daniel Santos on his entries, and I could understand that. However, I've never been particularly impressed with Davey Grant, so give me Daniel Santos here. I don't know if I will make it to the betting window, but I think that Daniel Santos is the side. Davey Grant's receiving a lot of love as a public underdog. I just don't see it, man. So I'm going to go with Daniel Santos, low confidence. Then we got Osbourne taking on Luis Gurule. And, my ear is always to the ground about the rumblings of the community. And people were telling me, look, Luis Gurule, man, he's that guy. I watched his fight against Nick Piccinini. I was impressed. I watched his fights outside of that Dana White's Contender Series performance. And the guy's pretty complete, man. He's also incredibly calm. He remains calm no matter what's happening in there. He doesn't stress out. He stays with the fundamentals. He's not a particularly big guy for the weight class, but he is durable. He trains out of a great camp with Brandon Royval there, the raw dog himself. And in a matchup here against Osbourne, I think he can turn up. I think he can finish Osbourne. Osbourne 12-8 now inside the UFC. It's time we stop talking about the potential of Osbourne. It seems like it's never going to come to fruition. The man's 33 years old. I think he's on the dying light of his UFC career, and I think Luis Gurule goes out here, finishes him, and sends him his packing slips. Give me Luis Gurule here. I think he wins this fight by knockout or submission sometime after midway through the second round. I think he turns up the heat and cooks Osbourne with the cardio and with just being in his face and being a dog. And how sick are those tattoos on his chest there? Luis Grim Gurule to make good on his UFC debut. I'm excited for it. Then we have, oh my God, every time I see this picture, it's crazy. Look at Torrez Finney. The build on this man, that's it right there. Just, God, I do not have the traps for that. But I mean, Torrez Finney, man, this guy is an absolute mammoth of a human being. 3-time Dana White's Contender Series winner. I think that's a stat that's probably never going to grow old, He's won by decision. He won by submission and by knockout inside of the Dana White's Contender Series. Hit the triple trifecta. It's crazy. It is crazy. He even beat one of New Zealand's own, Cam Ralston, from City Kickboxing. So, that kind of hurt, but yeah, all the more impressive, And it looked ridiculous in that fight. It's going to look ridiculous in here. He's 5'8". His opponent's 6'2". He's a short 5'8". If somebody actually told me Torrez Finney was 5'6", I wouldn't blink. I'd be like, yep, checks out. He's going to look like a dwarf here, but a very, very thick dwarf. Robert Valentin is a madman. The reason I think the odds are the way they are is Robert Valentin is coming off of a round 2 KO loss where he got trapped in a crucifix and just elbowed into oblivion by Ryan Loder. Now, is Torrez Finney the level of grappler as Ryan Loder? I would say no, but also his physical stature, I think if he gets on top of Valentin, it's probably going to be a similar outcome because how do you get this man off of you? It's like having a bowling ball just trapped on top of your chest that has arms holding itself down, He's kind of built like Geodude from Pokemon. Torrez Finney here was almost Slam of the Week. I couldn't slam him, though, because the height difference, it does drive me nuts. It drives me nuts that this dude is 5'8" at middleweight, 5'8" at welterweight is short. Middleweight, it's crazy. Give me Torrez Finney, though, to win this fight, most likely by ground and pound. Then we have Brad Tavares versus Gerald Meerschaert. And, guys, off the books, I may have placed a pretty large bet on Brad Tavares here. Spoiler, the pick is Brad Tavares. I went back and I watched 5 of Brad Tavares' last performances. I watched 2 of Gerald Meerschaert's performances. I'd already seen his most recent fight, so it was fresh in my mind. Didn't have to see that against Renier the Ritter. The thing about Gerald Meerschaert is if his opponent stays within themselves and stays composed, he's never going to win. Like almost everybody he fights, it's not going to work if they stay composed and stay within themselves. The problem is that people, they start to assume that they've got him, or they start to make a small error. I don't think Brad Tavares is going to do that, man. Sometimes his problem is he stays with himself too much, Like he's not going to let his hands go a little bit because he's defensive. He's not going to if he stays within himself, this fight, he cruises to a decision. If he lets his hands go a little bit more and doesn't unleash too many kicks, he probably can find a finish here as well. I think Brad Tavares is the much better striker. I think that his durability on the feet as well is better than Gerald Meerschaert. I know Gerald Meerschaert is tough, but his durability is going to take more damage than Brad Tavares here. Brad Tavares coming off the loss to Jung Young Park, the Iron Turtle. Gerald Meerschaert coming off the loss to Renier de Ritter. Somebody is in here for redemption. I think it's going to be Brad Tavares. Initially, I thought the odds were really wide, but when you start to watch the tape and you realize Brad Tavares is out there stopping takedowns from Dricus Duplessis. He's out there stopping takedowns from Yoel Romero. Chris Weidman, I don't know if he got a single takedown on Brad Tavares. So this guy's stopping takedowns from world-level wrestling athletes. And then you've got Gerald Meerschaert, who is lackluster in his takedowns. Exceptional grappler when it comes to submission grappling, but I don't think Brad Tavares is going to entertain him on the ground. I don't think he's going to give him the options here. Give me Brad Tavares to win this fight by KO or decision. Pretty high confidence on that one. Then we have Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Martin Buday. Guys, Kennedy Nzechukwu should be the pick here. He should be able to go out here. He should be faster, lighter man skill, longer arms. Should be able to piece up Martin Buday. I watched this man drop the ball and shit his bed against Ovince St. Preux. And it wasn't that OSP turned up and looked amazing. Kennedy Nzechukwu shit the bed. He turned up, looked like he could beat him, looked like he should have beaten him, and just let that fight slip away from him. There is nothing in my mind that I've seen from Kennedy Nzechukwu to assume that he has fixed that issue. He went out there and beat, his name is escaping me. I can see him. Short, 5'8", actually. I think he is the little heavyweight. Chris Barnett, Mr. Spinning Wheel Kick. Chris Barnett, 5'8", 265 or 266 pounds. He beat Chris Barnett at heavyweight. Does nothing for me. That proved absolutely nothing for me. He beat the least disciplined athlete that the UFC has probably ever seen. And people are now like, Kennedy Nzechukwu, back to a minus 300. Makes sense. No, it fucking doesn't, okay? Martin Buday could absolutely cause an upset here just because Kennedy Nzechukwu is terrible when it comes to fight IQ. He laid an egg against OSP. There's nothing to cause me to believe that he won't do it again here. Stay away from this. I would lean towards Kennedy Nzechukwu, but super low confidence in this man. I need to see more from him before I ever trust him with $1 of mine. That's for sure. Then we have Cortavious Romious against Chang Ho Lee. Chang Ho Lee is a all-action grappler that comes forward. He is coming off of his UFC debut and road to UFC finale, where he won a narrow decision where some people actually thought it could have gone the other way. He has decent cardio, he has decent takedowns, but he can be taken down as well. Cortavious Romious is coming off of a UFC debut loss against Gaston Bolanos, where he got the takedowns early and then he gassed, and he gassed hard. He never got finished, though, and did drop a decision loss there in his debut. Now, I chalk that up to a little bit of bright light syndrome here, coming in here, the debut being a little bit too much here. He burned bright. He faded early. I think he makes the adjustments here, gets Chang Ho Lee down, and wins this fight by decision or submission by getting Chang Ho Lee and getting the control time. I think he does get the takedowns here, and I think that he is able to control Chang Ho Lee on the ground. I'm going to take the underdog here, Cortavious Romious, to make good on his second fight inside the UFC. Then we have Pat Sabatini taking on Joanderson Brito. First off, I want to address the elephant in the room here. If you're MMA mathing this, you're picking Pat Sabatini because Joanderson Brito went out there, got controlled by Jonathan Pierce, and then found a way to win. Pat Sabatini went out there, dominated Jonathan Pierce, and then submitted him. If you look at those two things, you go, oh, Pat Sabatini can emulate that. He's going to do that to Joanderson Brito. Stop. Different fighters, different scenarios. I think Joanderson Brito is going to get the hands going here early. I think he finds Pat Sabatini's chin and sends him into the shadow realm. Give me Joanderson Brito, the wild boy, the shark, to go out here, knock out Pat Sabatini, and I think he does it under 1.5 rounds. Take that one to the bank. Then we have the main event of the evening. By the way, guys, I will be doing a watch party from the first fight to the last. You can catch me here on the YouTube channel doing a UFC watch along. Come support your boy. Get some betting tips. It's going to be a blast. In this main event here, we have Josh Emmett taking on Lerone Murphy. If you haven't already seen it, Slam of the Week is the boy, Lerone Murphy. I think that he goes out here. He makes Josh Emmett look old. I think he's going to be faster. He's going to have a better gas tank. And I think he lands a knee somewhere in rounds 2 or round 3 when Josh Emmett is loading up, which starts a finishing sequence where he goes in there and puts him away between round 2 and 3. Give me Lerone Murphy. I'm incredibly confident. I hope you've all enjoyed this full card breakdown. Let me know who you are looking forward to seeing, who you're putting your money on. I'll see you in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. See you at the watch party.